Ladies and gentlemen, António Calçada de Sá, President of the Conselho da Diáspora, senhoras e senhores representantes políticos, dirigentes empresariais, membros das sociedades civis na Europa e em África, minhas senhoras e meus senhores, ladies and gentlemen, as the 6th edition of the EurAfrican Forum comes to a close, I want to thank the organizers for the invitation to be with you again as I was last year. 2023, this year has been identified by the African Union as the year of acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area implementation. And this is, in my view, exactly the right focus. Recent report by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa found that increased trade amongst African countries leads to the emergence of the consolidation of the triple nexus: peace, humanitarian support, and development. Trade intensification is not, of course, a guarantee, but it strongly increases the chances of an appropriate ecosystem for the promotion of prosperity and enhanced quality of life. On one hand, nations that trade together have a much lower propensity to go to war with each other. And on the other hand, trade can ease the transition from a more fragile to a more sustainable development environment. Transnational projects and intertwined value chains in Africa can therefore help create a common ground for the stabilization of regional crises, and there are a number of them on the African continent that remain matters of serious concern and hindrance to the economic development of the continent as a whole. So in other words, we have to look at the African Continental Free Trade Area as an ingredient for peace. We have to applaud the scale of the ambition, while at the same time recognizing and confronting the range of challenges. Creating the world's largest single market with 1.3 billion people and a combined GDP estimated at $3.4 trillion US dollars, this is no small task. And our role as friends of Africa is to find ways of being supportive in this huge task. One major challenge results from the borrowing costs, which for African countries are at least 4 times higher than for the most developed economies. The last panel was looking at this. Currently, around the world, there are no fewer than 52 countries, and nearly all in the developing world, and many of them African, which are in serious debt trouble, as reported by the UN Secretary General last year. Debt trouble, of course, is not only an enormous burden for the present, it is a serious shadow that is cast over expectations for the future. So sustainable financing and economic cooperation are, in that regard, 2 more ingredients for peace. And if this is not too confusing for the interpreters, I would like now to address you in Portuguese. I can do that? Yes? Okay. Minhas senhoras e meus senhores, sobre esta questão do financiamento sustentável, eu queria aproveitar para destacar que Portugal e Cabo Verde assinaram há cerca de um mês um acordo para a comparticipação financeira de um fundo climático ambiental que foi criado pelas autoridades cabo-verdianas para acelerar a transição climática. É um fundo que conta para já com cerca de 12 milhões de euros, que é o valor da dívida de Cabo Verde a Portugal que atingia a maturidade entre agora e 2025. E esse valor é vertido para o fundo, para investimentos que promovam as transições verde e azul em Cabo Verde. Em 2025, depois faz-se uma avaliação desta experiência. Se for positiva, e tenho todas as expectativas de que será, o fundo então poderá ser significativamente reforçado com outros montantes vindos da dívida de Cabo Verde a Portugal. Portanto, esta conversão de dívida em investimento verde é, no fundo, um quadro muito inovador e é um contributo importante de Portugal não só para o desenvolvimento de Cabo Verde, para as perspectivas de Cabo Verde, para a transição climática em Cabo Verde, mas também um contributo para o desenho de novas soluções, soluções adaptadas à realidade de cada país para responder a desafios que são globais. É um contributo que já está a atrair bastante atenção internacional devido à sua qualidade inovadora, e a nossa expectativa é que este modelo vai repetir-se em outros contextos com outros países. Também no âmbito da CPLP estamos a evoluir. Foi possível dar um passo muito significativo neste último ano com a constituição do quarto pilar da CPLP, o pilar da cooperação económica. A liderança angolana, no quadro da sua presidência da CPLP, foi muito ativa e muito determinada nesta matéria, o que significa que, doravante, a CPLP passa a ter uma atividade mais consolidada, mais forte, no quadro da cooperação económica entre os 8 países membros da CPLP. E abrem-se, deste modo, novas portas para novas oportunidades, novas parcerias, estabelecem-se novos canais de diálogo entre os agentes económicos, os públicos e os privados. Em suma, o mundo muda, nós também temos de mudar. E o mundo está a mudar muito rapidamente, compete-nos sermos também lestos na adaptação, na criação de novos instrumentos adequados a essa realidade. Ladies and gentlemen, strategic infrastructure, another fundamental ingredient for peace. Putting it simply, infrastructure plays a vital role in the flow of trade exchanges. It bridges the gap between different markets, between goods, between people. And this means that we have to collectively address this challenge as well. I think that we have interesting, I'd say exciting prospects with the European Union's global gateway, opening up new vistas, new opportunities around the world, and in particular with respect to the African continent. One good example is the establishment of a sustainable logistical corridor with a very strong digital component between the port of Sines on the southwest coast of Portugal, Sines, and the Angolan port of Barra do Dande. And the goal is to leverage the geostrategic location of both ports. Both Barra do Dande and Sines have significantly unique geostrategic locations in order to boost trade flows in key sectors such as energy, with green hydrogen in the future, agribusiness, and critical raw materials. And this will contribute, we expect, to making Angola into one of the main logistical and service hubs of the African continent. Another landmark infrastructure project working in the same direction is the Lubito corridor, and this project aims at accelerating domestic and cross-border trade covering not only Angola, but also the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia. And it runs for approximately 1,300 kilometers and will provide these countries with much greater access to maritime trade routes in the Atlantic, will facilitate the circulation of goods and materials, as well as boosting the development of sectors such as heavy industry, agriculture, and mining. These projects are more than simply international projects or simply transnational projects. We need to see them as forms of economic integration with global connectivity and with trade networks that cross the Atlantic and across the Mediterranean seas. Digital connectivity, equally relevant for our contemporary challenges, another fundamental ingredient for peace. Portugal and the European Union have been actively contributing in this regard, again in the context of the European Union's global gateway. And I'm thinking here of Ela Link, the 6,000-kilometer submarine cable linking Sines to Fortaleza in Brazil via Cabo Verde, providing reliable bandwidth and turning the Portuguese-speaking country in West Africa, Cabo Verde, into a critical digital hub for its region. Or also the Medusa submarine cable system, which is the longest Mediterranean submarine cable, with 8,700 kilometers linking North Africa to the European Union, including Portugal. In fact, one of the hubs of the Medusa cable system is going to be located just over here in Carcavelos as of next year. These projects are critical as they break down the digital divide between north and south of the Mediterranean, as well as between east and west of the Atlantic. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've understood that the point that I would like in these brief remarks to stress above all is that regardless of the sector or the context at stake, trade and regional integration are fundamental ingredients for peace. And this means that the business community that I have the honor to address today can be a valuable peace builder in many ways. For example, by leveraging the existing expertise in financial services and supporting the building of a Pan-African payment system, by investing in the areas identified by the African Union for private sector engagement and regional value chain development, such as the automotive sector, agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, as well as transportation and logistics. Or also by engaging with the African and European diasporas around the world to develop joint projects that can bring the desired shared prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes, you will hear from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, who has been a champion of this critical agenda and whose country is the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. I have great pleasure in welcoming here my colleague, Shirley Botchway, the Foreign Minister of Ghana. On our side, Portugal and Europe cannot shy away from taking part in this undeniable opportunity for Africa and for the world. We cannot turn our backs to this because of our shared historic ties, because we are Atlantic by geography, but also Mediterranean by culture and by vocation, because we recognize the sheer scale of the challenges that are ahead of us, and because we recognize the benefits of working together in the European Union and with our African partners. So it is our job to be on the side of Africa as the continent makes its way towards the goals that it has set for itself. Prosperity, ladies and gentlemen, just like peace, is something that comes from within. Thank you very much.